517 to scanner control. 517 to scanner control.
This
Spilled all over myself.
really perfect timing. See, so excited for this episode of the Star Wars Squadrons podcast. What is this?
You know what? That's why we have the emergency hoodie. And just dab that off, clean that later.
See, this man is a professional. He is the voice of competitive Squadron, been casting, playing the game. Alittlehammmer. So happy to have you on the podcast this week, buddy.
Yeah, happy to be here. A bummer that I happened to spill exactly when the camera turns on, but
It's like, I'm going live in 5 seconds. You like get the cup of water right over yourself. 3,
I'm a joke.
2, 1, spill on yourself. Perfect live. Yeah, we couldn't plan that any better. Wow, that is a big gallon of water you spill on yourself.
Yeah, I know. I don't even know how it happened. Luckily, wear dark colors. Can't even tell.
Finished a full day of work. Now you're here. Oh, you got your coffee though too going on. Thank you so much for joining us here today, man. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. It's like you said, it's been a busy work day, but I mean, I have nothing to complain about.
Oh, good to hear. Glad to have you on the podcast, man. Let me ask you, how did you first hear about Star Wars Squadrons? How early did you know about it coming out?
So it was like June or July of last year. There was that like announcement trailer. It's the one where like the girl's in the X-wing and she like gets like blown up. I think something like that.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it, and then I was because I was a big Rogue Squadron player, and I was like, no way. So I just like ping spammed a Discord that I'm with my buddies, and I was like, guys. And I kind of watched it super intently from then. There's a bunch of videos on YouTube that were like dev previews. A few like influencers got access to the beta and they were posting about it. And I was kind of like latched on until launch. So it was a pretty intense burn until then.
Yeah, that pretty similar to me, actually, exact same way. Once I started seeing I think someone told me about them, one of my friends, and then I saw the trailer and I was like, oh wow, this does look like a pretty cool game. And for the same reason too, I had played the Rogue Squadron games. I think that's what you had said you had played when you were younger. Is that your background with Star Wars and flight games?
Hold on, I also want to bring this over because this is also why I lost my mind. Is when that announcement happened, it was said it was going to be a VR game, right?
Oh, of course.
And I'm a big VR enthusiast. So when the announcement was the whole game will be playable in VR, it was like, no, like that's what I wanted, right?
Yes.
Like, there was the mission in Battlefront 2. I never got to play it because it was PSVR exclusive. But the idea of piloting a ship in VR is like the dream. You were asking though. Sorry, I lost train of thought.
No worries. So my question was about, you said, I think Rogue Squadron was the game that you had said you had played in the past. That was kind of like, your entry, like way back in the day. I think I played it on N64, and that was the one that I had always thought of. That was your entry level to flight games?
Yeah, so when I was little, I had this Windows Millennium computer my dad made for me. It had like a Voodoo graphics card or something. And my dad had this like Sidewinder joystick. It was the one that would plug into like the sound card slot. And he had Rogue Squadron 1 and then like Star Wars Dark Forces. And I just ended up playing Rogue Squadron all the time. And then we got a GameCube, right? And Rogue Squadron 2 came out and then 3. So that was like a big exposure to Star Wars in general because I can't think of many other Star Wars games I've played. To be honest with you, like I know a lot of the scene has come from like XVT. Too young for that.
I mean, I was around, but I wasn't playing PC games then, so I didn't play those ones. Yeah.
Actually, thinking about it, I think Rogue Squadron's like the only Star Wars games I've played besides this one.
So I'm actually curious because like I have heard a little bit about the ones on the GameCube. What were those ones like? Those Rogue Squadrons? I'm kind of curious because I haven't really ever played them. I haven't heard too much about them. Were they like the original Rogue Squadron, or did they go?
Yeah, they're like an expansion of it. The second one's very much like the first, but the third one has the ground combat. And so, but it's very like jank ground combat. If you go back and play it nowadays, it is aged poorly. But also, like, to go back and play the first Rogue Squadron, that hasn't aged too well either. Like, we're spoiled with the flight controls of this current game. You go back and the thing is like just janky.
It just does not feel smooth at all. I mean, yeah, I mean, I never played any sort of flight stick, so even now when I play it, I have one now that I've started to play, and it is difficult for me to get used to say the least. Okay, so Star Wars Squadrons is coming out. You know, you see the game's coming. How do you start playing it right away on launch day? You're playing in VR. Did you have to invest in VR equipment?
So it's not. It's in a box, so I can't show you guys or show you. But so Squadrons is gonna come out, right? And I was jazzed, amped up, and I said, like, Microsoft Flight Sim had just come out, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play Flight Sim. Just you know, in anticipation for playing Squadrons. As a flight sim, I like it. It's a lot of fun. I'll put on like the Verve and fly over like London. But it was mostly like to get my mind in like the hype of like using a joystick and all that jazz. The problem though is when Flight Sim came out, which was before Squadrons, right? You couldn't find a joystick online. It was near impossible. It's a lot better now, but in that moment, like everything was sold out. But my dad had that sound card Sidewinder Pro sitting in a cardboard box, and it hasn't been touched in like 15 years. So obviously it's not like a USB controller, right? Like you can't like plug it into a modern computer. But you can get what's called a Teensy, which is like this micro Arduino like controller, solder a bunch of wires to it, and then take this code repo called adapt-ffb-joy, load that program into there, and then like get an adapter and push it all together and plug it into your computer, and it works.
Oh my god! So I did that. You jerry rigged that whole set. How did you figure that out to set up? Like, where did that?
The frustration and determination, because I didn't have a joystick, and that was the closest thing that I could find. But there was a bug in, not a bug per se, but there was an issue in that code base where those sticks have gotten so old. Actually, wait, no, I have one. Hold on, it's visible.
Oh my god!
The adapter that I built isn't actually the correct joystick, but the adapter that I built is actually over at a buddy's because I'm letting him borrow it. But it was one of these bad boys.
Oh wow! I mean,
so this is like the old one. People used to play XVT with it actually, and it uses this connector right here. If it can focus, it's pretty nasty. It was used in Sound Blaster sound cards. But yeah, just bought some stuff off Amazon, bought a couple capacitors, shoved it all together, and then fixed a bug with the code where there's a lot of jitter on the axes because the capacitors and all the parts in here have started to like erode over 20 years, right?
Jeez.
So I actually, my code got a foothold in the Microsoft Flight Sim community, and when I look at the analytics for the repo, there's some guy that's selling adapters with my code online. I don't care. I made it all like open license anyway, so.
That is pretty awesome, actually, man, that you did that and went through. And it, like, kind of like we were talking before, this is, you know, your background professionally too, like, so they kind of have the know-how to work on this a little bit.
Yeah. It helped out a bunch, right? To be able to like download some random guy's code base from like 6 years ago and be like, how is this working? And it's all like bit shifting and crap, so.
That's really awesome. And a big shout out from Zugzug actually in the chat there. Just gave me a follow. Thank you. And he said, thanks, Time Bomb and Hammer, for your contribution to the community. You guys are awesome. That's really nice. I really appreciate seeing that. Okay, so you started playing with that stick and sorry, the VR as well. The VR, you showed that helmet. Did you have that helmet before? Did you invest in that for the game?
So I got my Rift S at the beginning of the pandemic. I was like waiting on Best Buy's website because at the time it was like impossible to find, and I finally got one. So I had that for a while because, you know, at the time I was my job had gotten in a little bit of a weird state that I was working at, and I didn't know what my employment was going to be 4 months from now. So at the beginning of the pandemic, I still working, but working remote. I moved into my parents' basement for the time because I don't want to be at a place I can't afford to pay rent for. So to kind of escape that, I bought a Rift S and then played up like a bunch of Pavlov.
You gotta play what you do. And I mean, you know, you were talking too about the shortage of flight sticks because like I remember at the time there was some available before Squadrons. I was like, I don't know if I want a flight stick. And then like a bit later, I was like, I totally want a flight stick. And they were all sold out by then because whatever, another game had come out too that needed them. And then it was only like 6 weeks ago maybe that I actually finally got a flight stick, and now that they are kind of available, I got like the T-Flight one for the Xbox, which I don't even use that much, to be honest. And now I built a PC, so I mean I could get another one, but I can use that one with my PC now too. That's an option. So it's cool too. Just I don't know. Squadrons is definitely maybe more interested in flight sims, just like how you were kind of like getting back into them.
gotta rep the NXT Gladiator. That's community likes that one a lot. I like the stick a lot too.
Yeah, isn't that so? What do you? So when you're flying, how do you like to fly now? What are you flying on that the Gladiator?
Yeah, so I have abandoned the Sidewinder. It's got too much jiggle and not enough buttons. It was a pain for like doing the targeting computer. So instead, I rock on one hand the Gladiator. It sits right here, and on the second hand, a Tartarus. The Tartarus Pro, because I hated how the Tartarus key switches felt. So it's kind of expensive, but the nice thing is that the keys, if it focuses ever, the keys are numbered through 1 through 19. And if you set up your Razer software, which is sometimes a headache, correctly, the UI will be like press like joystick 2 button 4, and it's like, oh, I can look down and see button 4, so it becomes super simple. But yeah, like this hand is, you know, countermeasures, shunting and shields, throttle on the thumb, back and forth, boost, drift on the thumb here too, pinging, and then like menu, loadouts, and then the rest of it used to be targeting computer, but because the Gladiator has a kabillion million hats, has 1 hat, 2 hat, 3 hat, 4 hats.
Oh my god! It's 4 hats.
I have all my. I have my targeting on targeting computer stuff on this one, and then like my engines on this one, and then like other targeting computer on this one, and like the help button and like the resupply button on these. So
that stick seems so solid too. That's crazy. Like just like
it doesn't come with a big chunk of wood.
Yeah, I mean, like look at that huge platform on it. Look at that. Oh, that thing's crazy. Yeah. And so
it usually comes with like you see the metal here. That's the size of the normal platform. But then I just got a 12 by 12 piece of wood from Home Depot and then just stained it black.
Oh,
and then,
nice. Yeah, I can see where the bolts are. That's actually mounting mine is like kind of, honestly, that's so dumb. But like one thing really holding me back from using it too is just that it takes up so much space on my desk, and I just don't feel like my setup is correct for it. Like I feel like I need to have everything in order to really use it, which I don't know.
So talking about desks, speaking of dumb Home Depot things, if you want to make a gigantic desk, but you don't want to pay those companies the big fees for big desks, go to Home Depot or whatever is the equivalent in Toronto.
Then we have Home Depots, yeah.
Just buy a blank door. They're like $90. You stain it. And then you put legs on it, and boom, you got a gigantic desk. I have like an 80 by 36 door. I just lathered some black stained poly on it, and it's been my go-to since.
Yo, big thank you to Zugzug too for doing a Prime sub. Much appreciated, buddy. I should do that because my desk, like, it's just dumb the way that I have to mount like arms for like my mic and stuff to it, man. So when you started playing Squadrons, then.
Yeah.
How did you start like playing with people in the game? Did you join the Discords? Were you just like randomly jumping in?
Yeah, so when the game launched, I played the campaign. A buddy of mine bought the game with me. He left it after like 8 hours because he got bored.
Yeah.
But I was playing solo queue for a while, and I joined the official Squadrons Discord. This is like the first like 2 or 3 weeks of the game. And back then, I know it's like not a year, but it feels like it's been years, right? You know, that Discord was crazy active and everybody was in the voice channels. And that was when the dead zone wasn't fixed, right? That's like the first patch. And I would just go and I'd hang around, I'd like looking for a game, and then drag myself into voice chats. And I played for a bit. But because of the 0 SR bug and the lack of custom matches at the time, about like 4 weeks in, or like 3 weeks in, I kind of was like a little burnt out. So I put the game down again, it feels like it's been like years, but it's like been, half a year plus. So it hasn't been that long.
The weirdest thing about this game, like I honestly feel like I've been playing this game for years, but it's been out for like 7 months or something like that. It's so weird. Meta shifts very quickly in this game too.
I I ended up putting the game down, and then I picked it back up when they announced custom matches. I was like, this is what I wanted. I watched that first Op Ace, and it wasn't the fault of the organizers. It wasn't the fault of anybody involved in production, but the fact that it had to be, we're gonna be queuing into ladder matches for 5 hours like that. When the game was advertised in the dev previews, and it made it like this is gonna be a MOBA with ships. Not having custom matches was like kind of a heartbreaker, and I was like, that's what this game feels like it was designed for.
I mean, I would have thought
competitive 5v5s.
Yeah, I mean, my experience too beforehand is like in the NHL series, which is kind of comparable to like having 6v6 people playing. You know what I mean? I would have, and you have like a club or a clan. That's kind of what I imagine, that you would have a clan. You'd be like whatever, Orange Squadron, and then you would search as a group or challenge other squads. You know what I mean? Kind of. That's just how I assumed it would kind of go. Just like it surprised me, that they didn't have even customs or anything like that. The clan, not having a clan system in a competitive game, actually really surprised me, or some sort of leaderboard or something like that. I guess I would have thought it would have been some way. Although, I mean, leaderboards aren't necessarily the best thing for games. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so I'm happy with how the community kind of picked up that slack, though, right? Like the millions of Discords we have, and the community is like small enough that everybody knows everybody for the most part. So
it is great that way. I mean, just like you were talking about right back in the beginning on the Star Wars Squadron Discord, I was on those Discords too. I was doing LFG posts. I was jumping into voice chats. I've met, like, honestly, if I look through the comp teams, I played with so many of the people on those teams now who played then, right? Like, they were all in there. We were all kind of meeting. That's what's been so cool about Squadrons the whole way, is everyone's so open to playing with each other.
So to bring it back, because to your point, what ended up happening was custom games were announced, and I was like, okay, I want to get back into this game. Well, the main Discord had kind of not died, but it died down. So I was like, oh crap, I need to find a Discord to go to. So my dog's just making noise. So I was like shopping Discords per se, right? And I find TFA, and I'm like, oh, these guys seem cool. And then I go to their website, and it's like a whole registration process, and I'm like, oh, this is confusing. So no docs to TFA. It was just a little too much at the time. So then I was like, okay, well, Gray Squadron, they keep on posting, come and play with us. So I open up Gray Squadron, and I immediately see Chua is there. And to bring it back to, you met players through LFG. I played with Chua a bunch at the beginning of the launch of the game, and I was like, wow, this guy's good. Holy crap, this guy's good. And I got in there, and I see Chua typing like, okay, Chua's in here, and Chua stayed. It's probably a good Discord.
Yeah.
So then I stayed in Gray Squadron since then.
Chua's a great guy. Yeah, man, I love Chua. I play with him so much. I've played with him a while. Shout out to Chua. I mean, big B-Wing proponent for sure too out there.
Rocking the proton bombs.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone wants a buff to the B-Wing, definitely Chua would love it. Good bomberman. Yeah, man, and then so Gray Squadron. From there, basically, you started playing with them, and you kind of got. How did you get then from into the casting role? Is that something that you wanted to do? Had you done that in other games? How did you get to there?
So, Operation Ace Open happened. And it was fun to watch. And I sat there, and I was like, maybe I could do this. So, this is the month, right? This is November, where I was I was in between jobs, so I had a bunch of free time. So I was like, okay, screw it, I'll go. And I already had like my audio interface because I do music stuff, right? I didn't have this mic, I had a mic, and I was like, okay. Well, I wonder what'll happen, right? Like, what if I just try it? So for about a week, I would, what I would call like Q snipe. It's not the correct term. I don't know what to call it, but I'd go into my friends list, and see if somebody's in a game, and I would join their game. I'd either do it live, or I would do it offline. More often than not, offline, and I would practice casting people's ladder games. Oh. I did that for about a week and a half. I would go do it, and then I would finish the recording. I'd go back and I'd watch it and be like, what did I do well? What didn't I do well? Because I didn't want to come out of the gates and stumble and fall. That's not what I wanted to do. So I spent about like a week and a half like refining, and then Gray Squadron has the things called gravies, where it's
Yep.
because there's like 15 plus teams on Gray. They like to scrim each other. And at the time, it was Team Reaper, which had Chua on it, versus Team Cheese. And I had said in text like, "Hey, I'm starting to play around with this. I'd done like a few online non-custom game like queued matches, like ladder matches." And I was like, "Hey, can I cast this game?" And I casted it. It was super rough. I'm not gonna lie to you, but people liked it. And people liked it so much that I got DMs from people that are like, "Keep on doing this," and that was unsolicited. And I was like, "Oh." It's compared to now. It's like I have a recording. It's like it's not a good cast, but it was something, right?
Yeah.
Like in my statement then is the same as it is now. Like I was watching players do amazing things in Squadrons, and it wasn't being recorded. Crazy plays, and it was getting lost to the void. Meta strats being lost to the void. The era before the Fencar guides, right? Like things existed in bubbles. And I was like, man, this game's a lot of fun to watch. I want other people to watch it. So
I feel
I
like
did that.
at that time, honestly, it's almost like in that era was like the Destracier era, where it was just like he was trying to get the info out there, he just couldn't quite translate it to everyone.
We had like the Rye-Fox guides, right?
Rye-Fox, of course.
It feels like eras ago, and I know it's only been like 6 months, but everything moves so quickly in this internet age. But yeah, like I did it, and it went well, and I was like, and I got all that feedback, so like, okay, I'm gonna keep on trying to do this. So I kept on trying, and that was about when SCL got announced, and Sculp did the announcement, and I was like, okay, well, I've got some stuff under my belt. I then got an Elgato, and I messed around with the TAC map stuff, and I ended up doing more cast while aggressively pinging Sculp and Jareen, being like, "Hey, SCL, do you guys want guest casters? Hey, please respond." And I was really pushy. Is probably the best way to describe it. I would make sure, like, I would ask, like, "Hey, any updates?" And at first I was met with some hesitation. Understandable. I hadn't really like done anything yet. But I kept on doing more and more, and I had a clip that I posted on a bunch of Discords because I was like, here's my like pitch clip, and it was like watching one of Gray Squadron's queued ladder matches, and somebody was able to get behind the MC-75. I think it was Chadwick, and basically like knock out like 3
Chadwick.
One. And I used that as like my pitch, and then Jareen saw that and was like, "Hey, do you want to cast for SCL?" And I was like, Yes. And then, but we still had to get through some of the figuring out how to do it. At first, casting for SCL was gonna be a lot different. It was gonna be, I believe, Sculp doing almost all of it with possible like guest casting. But then I think like after week 1, we realized that that's a lot of casting in a week for one person. And then the also like dual casting isn't something that you can just immediately pop into, is what we all learned collectively at the same time too. Like solo casting and dual casting are like 2 different beasts and have to be approached differently. So then I think week 2 popped along, and I started getting added to the rotation. And then there was like a do or die moment where Sculp was busy, and I had to do like 3 games, like 3 series in a row, which now I can do just fine. But at the time was like, I've only ever done like 1 game at a time. Now I can do 6 and entertain a stream. I'm not even a streamer. So that happened, and that went well. And then, I mean, it's been pretty positive from there on out. So
yeah, man, that's awesome. So from the SCL, you've done, I mean, I think every Cal Cup event, the other Op Ace that happened.
Yeah,
Twin Suns, right? Now season 2 of SCL. Man, you've pretty much been involved in all of them, and I think everyone loves like the high energy. What I think Scalp does it too. You guys are both great high energy voices, and I think where you've kind of separated too is like you're so quick on it though too. You know what I mean? Like you're fast, like translating that information. I mean, I've never heard. I'm sure that has something to do with it. Does that have to do with the change from those earlier recordings that you did to now? Is that kind of what's developed over the time?
I was very slow and nervous in my first week and a half, and even some of my SCL like season 1 casting, which is now lost to the void because I'm a dummy and I didn't record any of it locally. But yeah, there's a lot of nervousness where I was like thinking too much about what I have to say. But I realized that if I just drink a lot of caffeine and I warm up my voice, I can just blabber at the speed of light. So I just started to embrace it, right? Because this game goes. I wrote this like white paper a while ago about like how I cast this game and all that. And
You should
this
totally
game,
yes, explain this to us. I'd love to hear this.
this game, the average comp match will take between 15 and 25 minutes, right? Compare that to a Dota game or a League game, and you've got about half to like a third of the runtime of any other MOBA. So the amount of information that has to come to the audience, in my opinion, to make it a like cohesive experience is just mind-numbing.
Hmm.
So then I had to I was like, okay, I need to lean on getting information out quicker. And I learned later that my great-grandfather was an auctioneer. My dad told me that after watching one of the streams. He's like, oh, wonder you can speak fast. Your great-grandfather used to do auctions. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, it's in my blood.
Yeah, you got that. Yeah, that's right. You got that instrument. You're using it. I'm curious too. You talked about how you got your Elgato so you could do captures on TacMac. Is that like you got like an Xbox or something else capturing as well at the same time as a PC?
So
Or
I've got a pretty stupid, ridiculous setup. I've got two Elgato 4Ks plugged into my PC. I've got a PS4 that I got years ago,
uh-huh.
and my dad's unused Xbox One that he's letting me borrow indefinitely because he bought it, he never plays it. And then if I have the setup working, and sometimes it's a little glitchy with Squadrons, I will have both of the observers doing the tac map, but I have one inverted colors and rotated. So you can have both teams' icons on the map, so like squadron masks don't invis people. And then it's useful too for events where I'm not doing the cameras because then I can have two up. Like for example, on the Twin Suns tourney when the stream had that big oopsie where the main computer that was doing the broadcast died, I ended up just having to stare up here because I have my PS4 screen up here.
Yeah. That sucked when that happened, but man, the way that everyone came together to make it happen was great.
Oh, the big oopsie. Oh yeah, that was terrifying because like we're all thank you to everybody in the community for sticking around because like I was sitting in the caster's voice channel and we can hear the producer at any given moment. He's in there and also in the production one with like multiple discords and all that. And we're sitting there like in an unknown state, like what's going on. And then bless his heart, we can hear like people scrambling in like a physical office space because there was like a hardware failure. And they're like desperately trying to like rip Elgatos out of one machine, put it into another. And then like there was some problem with it booting, and I couldn't really gather because of course it wasn't my spot to know what's going on. I just had to sit there and get ready for when we had to go back on and come back with full speed. But yeah, that was a pretty spooky moment.
That always sucks, but I mean the way that they came together made that happen. And, honestly, like I mean, I've loved all the events, but that Twin Suns event,
it was a lot of fun.
It was so great. Just I think honestly, it's the kind of things where it could only happen because of everything that kind of came before it, like coming together and making that happen. And it was my favorite one. It was so great. Just all the games, the fun, everything was amazing. And yeah, I think everyone just kind of like you guys have kind of gotten in the zone with casting. So yeah, that's awesome, man. Where do you see it going for yourself in the future with casting and stuff? Do you see yourself expanding to other games? Sticking with Squadrons? What are you thinking there?
That's a good question. I've been thinking about that recently. Like, what do I do? I want to keep on casting Squadrons. It's fun. I have a good time. SCL Season 2. I think there are going to be some games today. I'm casting later. But then going into other games, I haven't figured that one out yet because I like MOBAs, right? I'm not good at them besides playing Squadrons. My other love in video gaming world is Tetris. I've played Tetris for years.
Dude, me too. Dude, I love NES Tetris. Sorry, go on. Please continue.
and I've been playing Tetris for a long time. Puyo Puyo Tetris is very fun online. And I've been thinking like, can I squiggle my way into whatever sort of Tetris community exists
Mm-hmm.
and try to innovate and iterate there?
Mm-hmm.
I'm discovering the frustration of the Tetris competitive community is very fractured and very not cohesive. And especially
Yeah.
in the format that I like, which is the 1v1 versus with garbage lines. That's all. That's like usually
Oh,
most
okay.
competitive Tetris players are the NES, right, where they're
Yeah.
doing like the hyper tapping,
Mm-hmm.
and the rolling strat that just came out, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's a new one. That's a new move. That's right.
But I like the Puyo Puyo Tetris, or the Tetris versus format,
Mm-hmm.
where it's you can Tetris 99 does it too,
Mm-hmm.
where you build up garbage lines and you can like tactfully wait to receive max and do like do a 4-line Tetris and then build like your
Mm-hmm.
4 wides or your triple T spins. So yeah, so I've been thinking
That is, yeah. You
maybe
know
there's
what?
an avenue I can
Mm-hmm.
do there.
That's like the new school. It's funny. You're right though. I don't think about it. It is a fractured community in Tetris. Where there's the new school sort of. There's the old school who kind of sticks to the NES version, and then there's the new school who's more adapting. And honestly, I see it. I'm old school, but I see it now. Like playing a lot of games now, I'm like I'm more open to the new school than I ever was before. I mean, it's pretty cool too to see the young kids pushing the old school NES Tetris now. It's not the old dogs anymore. It's the
Well,
young
yeah,
kids
like
getting into it, and they're inevitably going to play these new games at some point, I think too.
and like seeing the new rolling strat come out and how that's changed like the suicide levels, right?
Dude,
Like
dude got
that
to
is just
40.
changed how the game works.
Dude got to
Yeah,
level
like
40. Are you kidding me? No, people could barely get to 30 a year ago. Like it's
and it
moving so
and it
fast.
I know that's the thing, right? Not only like do they get to level 40, but people are iterating so quickly in the Tetris scene now. It's super fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Could Tetris
Well, yeah,
Effect
so
in
that
VR? You pop a Tetris Effect in VR? Come on, dope as F.
I I need to play that. I have a VR headset and I haven't played it yet. For shame, I know.
That would be nuts.
But
Yeah.
the other game I was I don't know if I should say it. Well, no, I can say it. I've been also trying to look into Shrek's Super Slam because that game has a very unique competitive scene.
Mhm.
That's also very like tight, and I like small communities.
Mhm.
I need to learn more about the tech for that game before I do anything because I don't want to get into a game to cast it if I don't understand that game. Because
Mhm.
like there's like an inherent trust that I think a caster should have with an audience. Like if the caster doesn't know more or the same as the viewer about a game, then like that's a bad caster in my opinion. Like
I
they're not able to
agree.
like you can't convey it.
It's like, what are they? They're
So
talking about something they don't know.
and like it's like the bullshit smell test, right? Like if you catch somebody out on not knowing something, then like the whole experience has gone down the drain.
And it's. I mean, we're talking about Squadrons too. I mean, we're talking about Tetris, and I'm thinking about Squadrons like Tetris, those old versions and the new versions existing. It's kind of like the way that, like the flight sims of Star Wars have kind of existed over all these years. People look so fondly at the X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, but, now we have Squadrons, and we kind of looking at the life cycle of it. It's tough to see. I don't know how far beyond like a year of this game we're going to see anything competitive wise. So I think it's a good idea to. We don't know. We don't know where it's going, what the future is. It could be, another sequel to this game in a few years that's really it takes to push it to that next level. So I think it's a good idea for you to be thinking about other games though too.
Yeah, just keep it fresh too.
Mhm.
I'm still hopeful, glass half full of a sequel. I've heard neutral things about the possibility of a sequel, nothing positive, nothing negative. But just keeping the lips hot, keep on
Mhm.
talking, keep on doing it. But also to this community, because we live in the now, we don't live in the future. We've got a pretty sizable player base that isn't necessarily dying. Yes, there is a split in the community
Mhm.
where you go on the subreddit and there are people that are very opinionated on the game and the state of the game. But in the state of the game that I tend to exist in, it's got a pretty solid player base that still plays. Like SCL still has an active roster, and
Yes.
and the teams are committed, and there's a lot of teams in
Mhm.
SCL this season.
There's 20 teams. That's the thing. There is a solid base of players who plays this game competitively, wants to play competitively, wants to stay competitive, and plays this game every day. There's some, hundreds of people who are doing this every day. I agree completely, that aren't necessarily represented in there as well. And I mean, this is the thing too. This game, man, when I look at other esports, this game really should be like a huge esport. Like, it's so fun to watch. Honestly, like when I watch the NES Tetris casters, they're so great and they bring it to this another level. I really, really feel like you do this amazing thing where you really do elevate it as an esport. You do a great job, man. Like, that's honestly a very important thing. And in any sort of esport, having the casters be a big part driving it is huge. And like, we have that in Squadron, so it's just another frustration to me that like when I see Eckhart's get 30K I think on one day 2 video, 40K on the day 1 video. I'm like, all this game needed was like promotion. People would have watched it. Like, this could have been a huge esport.
Part of the problem with Squadrons was COVID. I don't know how much I can speak about this, but COVID really messed up the advertising plans and marketing plans for this game. I don't know if I can say anything else. I was told information, but essentially it threw everything under the bus, and then the game kind of came out with like a little marketing, and then there was like no follow-up because a lot of plans just had to vanish because things couldn't happen in person anymore.
Well, I mean, it's a bummer. Yeah, I mean, if they had, I mean, I couldn't imagine if this was if there was a live event where people were playing Squadrons, that would be crazy.
The hope is that eventually, if we can, my optimistic hope is that this game maintains its player base and general interest long enough that the next Star Wars Celebration comes around, and people that handle the business side of esports, people like Boomstick, GFL, TGS, and all that, can try to find a way to have a live event at the 2022 Star Wars Celebration. It's a big dream. It's a very glass half full dream, but I hold on to that dream because that'd be amazing.
That would be.
It'd be expensive, no doubt it'd be expensive. But for a lot of Star Wars fans to be able to see, amazing pilots that you all like, a lot of Star Wars fans dream of being, but then seeing people with like the execution level that's very cinematic and seeing them go toe to toe is very like, whoa, like. Yeah, this is my childhood fantasy now competitive, and these players are like professional, Star Wars pilots.
It's so cinematic. The game, it's the most cinematic esport I think that I've ever seen. So I might be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Someone let me know. But it is crazy to me how it's Star Wars. So yeah, it seems like a missed chance, but I'm optimistic, just like you, of what the future holds. I think a future Squadrons game, if they do a next Squadrons game in the next few years, it's going to be amazing. It doesn't matter when it happens. There's a huge market for it that we've seen right here. There's a base for this game that will continue to play it whenever the next one comes out too.
And there's the movie coming out in like 2022 or 2023.
Yeah,
and I mean, it'd be a good tie-in to have a Squadrons 2.
Everyone's thinking it. I mean, I've seen some talk too of maybe more of a combined. I mean, I've kind of talked about this a little bit too. I feel like Squadrons should be to Battlefront what Warzone is to Call of Duty. A free mode within it, with a battle pass, some sort of path to cosmetics and unlocks along the way, and you would have, I don't know, 1,000 people minimum paying $10 a month. That's something. That's not nothing. Like
that's the ultimate like mind number of Squadrons is that they had. I mean, I was one of these people that was so upset with how BF2 was handled that I refused to buy it until recently, until it was $10, because I was upset with how that game handled microtransactions. And it was apparent in reviews. But then the mind number is that a game comes along that I would actually support microtransactions for, this game, and this game exists as a sort of apology for having those predatory practices in place in BF2. and it's like the game feels somewhat architected around them possibly at some point in development thinking about adding it with all those cosmetics, you
Yeah.
know? But it's a shame because, I mean, I would have been a whale for Squadrons. I was a whale for Warzone until the Black Ops integration that I think made it go downhill.
I agree.
But I'd buy those anime packs. I think I bought every single one up till the Riot Shield one. So
You still playing Warzone?
no,
No.
my
still
buddies played it all for a while,
Mhm.
but I played Black Ops when it came out, played the campaign, played the zombies for a while, and then Warzone, the multiplayer just got a mix of stale and unfun at the same
I
time.
completely agree. It's kind of come back a little bit for me. I started playing it with the last couple weeks. Maybe you and I will play a game sometime. We'll get in there.
Rock the AX50. The best thing about Warzone is so I play it very like a 30-year-old boomer, got the monster in one hand, and how I played it is, and it still works because the AX50 is still a good gun in that game.
Mhm.
Is you go, okay, there's a guy out 700 meters, and pick up the sniper and I use like one of those the aesthetic like zoom in scopes that has like the dots. The dots aren't indicative of actual distance, but they're good references, right? So then it's like I know because I've done it too many times, like where 700 meters is, and I just like lob shots out.
Yeah, yeah.
And I always imagine the people that watch those kill cams just get infuriated because here I am like at docks and I'm shooting like into like farm across the map and they're dots on my screen.
Yeah, and totally though, like with the cosmetic pathway is what I think would have been amazing in Squadrons. Like just if just imagine like I don't know, there's the one where it has like the moss on it from like Dagobah or something like that. What if there was different colors of that moss? Like every ship had a different every design had every color variation. That would just make you chase like, oh, I'm on this squadron and they want to use this purple with these blue. Right, that's the dumbest color combination, but some dumb color combination like that you had to unlock. Then you're like, oh, I gotta get glory for this. It would just make people play the game to not only grind for rank, but to grind for glory to get the unlocks. That's the other thing too. I wish instead of making the GA grind just be a rank grind, if they had also had a checklist grind for it, so you didn't just have to rank it up. You could get whatever 1,000 kills, 1,000 assists, 1,000 heals. If you did that in an operation, then you also got the GA helmet. Then it would. If people lost, then they wouldn't just be like, "Oh, I lost all this SR." Like they would be like, "Well, I'm still got the kills I needed."
120 SR.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I haven't tried to get SR since Op 2. I've just the highest rank I got was Legend 1. I got that Legend bucket. That's all that matters. I have my big shiny silver bucket. But yeah, the GA I can't imagine nowadays, right? The GA grind in like S3 where you don't have as well. Actually, no, I don't want to speak too soon. PS Plus got announced, right?
I did, yes.
Have PS Plus players, so there's possible people to grind SR off of per se. But yeah, the player base being as small as it is makes the GA grind super difficult when you're going to odds are run into Cavern Angels or Randalorians or Splinter during your grind, and then once you hit like mid legend, it's like if you lose a game, you lose like 3 wins.
Yeah.
There's like 3 teams you're playing. Well, good luck.
Yeah, it gets pretty silly, but at least the game. I mean, now when I play those games, I don't really care. Especially when I come up with Splinter or Cavern Angels, I'm not playing for SR or wins. I'm just playing to like try to get better, do the best I can against them, like figure out. Learn. It's a lesson. It's a free lesson, really, when you run into those teams.
And it's just fun shenanigans too. Like there are games that I know I'm going to lose because I like the solo queue anymore. It's just I don't know. The comms of Squadrons is good. It can be intense at times. So whenever I play this game anymore, I end up just playing by myself. Apologies, there's a train going.
No, can't hear it at all. No worries.
But I don't know what I was saying. The train's super loud on my end. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. Completely.
The train took your train of thought. Crazy. I mean, I feel like that's kind of everything we need to go over here. I really loved hearing the story and your path to being a caster, man. I'm excited to check out all those games. Let everyone know where they can listen to your Twitch. What's your Twitch? I'll put it in the link below as well.
Yeah. So, where you want to hear loud yappy caster, man? I have a Twitch. It's Alittlehammmer with 3 M's. I have a Twitter because I was told that I needed a Twitter by the production people. I have tweeted like 3 times, and I like a lot of random things about crypto because I like crypto. And I think that's about it for socials.
That's about it. Nice, man. I really appreciate you being on the podcast. Everyone, check out his Twitch, man, and we'll listen to you on those next competitive casts or on the SEO.
Yeah. Tonight, at like 7 PT, which is I think 10 ET, and then at like 7th, sometime tonight. I have a calendar for it.
That's right, and I'll keep. I try to keep my channel posted with all the SEL dates too. So thanks a lot for being on the podcast. Thanks everybody for listening and checking out the stream. I will catch everyone next time on the Star Wars Squadrons
517
podcast.
scanner controls. 517 scanner controls.